This video is going to walk you through creating a simulated conversation for your students. To begin, we need to create that conversation or the dialogue we want students to interact with. Start by clicking My Library in the top, and then Conversations. We need to start by creating a new conversation. Let's call this the Practice Introduction Conversation. I'm going to save my language as Spanish. Level, let's go Novice Mid. Student response time. So by default, this is left untoggled. That means that students will have an unlimited amount of time to respond to the question, and they'll be able to stop it when they think that they're done. If you want to limit how long students can respond to, this is where we'd change this option. You'll definitely have to play with this response time and what you feel is appropriate based off of each question. The final thing is if you'd like to submit it to the Charlala library. Now, right now in your account dashboard, there is no public library, but you will see that coming here soon. And whether you'd like your videos to be shared with other teachers or not is whether you'd choose to submit to the library. Our next steps is where we're actually going to be building this conversation or the prompts that we want our students to respond to. You can upload video if you already have something created or you want to create something in other software, but you're also allowed to record on the website. Different to our previous versions, you are not recording one long video, but rather each individual question. So let's go ahead and get started. It's going to be a very basic conversation, making sure we can all understand. All right. Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo estás hoy? You can go ahead and watch your video. We're going to go ahead and approve that one today. And then we want to include a transcript for the video. This helps not only for us to be able to recognize that question without rewatching it later on. It makes grading and providing feedback a lot easier for us, but students also have the option to see this transcript, which you can enable or disable depending on the assignments.
Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Scene. Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo estás hoy? I don't want to save this quite yet. I'm going to add at least one more question to our conversation. So let me go ahead. Muy bien. ¿Y cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas tú? I'm going to go ahead and approve that video, and let me go ahead and provide our transcript again. ¿Cómo te llamas? Now, normally we would go ahead and keep building this conversation out, right? We obviously have more than 2 questions or 2 prompts in a realistic conversation. However, for today's purpose, just so we can get the hang of it, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And we can notice we now have our conversation in our library. Next steps. Now, normally we would go ahead and create an assignment based off of this conversation. Before we do that, I want to walk you through quickly creating a rubric that we'll be able to use to provide some quick feedback on this basic conversation. We create a rubric by going to My Library, clicking Rubrics. We can see I already have one created, but let's go ahead and create a new one today. Let's go ahead, let's give it a very basic name. Let's go 4-point feedback. Let's go ahead and grade comprehensibility. How well are you understood? If you want, you can add more criterion down here. Let's go vocabulary. What vocabulary did you use? You can go ahead and add as many as you'd like within reason, as well as if you want to change the descriptions down below to be more specific for what each point value represents. You can go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and save this rubric. We can see I now have our 4-point feedback rubric that we're going to use to create an assignment. All right, our next steps, we want to take this conversation and turn it into an assignment. We can go ahead and click this assignment button right here, or we can choose assignment from the top menu bar and create a new assignment. We're going to create a conversation assignment because we just recorded that. Let's call this basic introduction. Please respond to each question appropriately. We can give the assignment a due date if we'd like. Now, a very important setting is the privacy settings. If your students do not have Charlala accounts, you should make it a public assignment. This will allow you to provide a private link for students to complete the assignment. If you want it to be a completely private assignment, please go ahead and click private. There will be no link created for you, and you'll need to make sure students are registered into classes to be able to complete the assignment. I'm going to go ahead and make this public just for this example video. Next steps, we want to choose the actual video we want students to interact with, or excuse me, the videos. If you want to go back and preview and make sure it's the correct video, you can do that here as well. But let's go ahead and add that one to the assignment. Next steps, also very important. What type of feedback do we want to provide students for the assignment? Now this varies case to case, and really if it's a summative assessment or if it's just a formative assignment along the way. For this, I am going to turn text feedback on just to show you what that will look like. Rubric feedback, we just created one, so let's add it as well. Let's choose our 4-point rubric. If you also want to go back and preview to make sure it's the correct one, you can do that here. Final step is our feedback style. Do you want to provide feedback on the entire assignment or individual video parts? Now this is really based off of your preference. I'm going to do individual questions just to show you what that would look like. More specific. Next steps. Right now, video recording is disabled. This will be coming back and available to all users shortly. The next question is whether we want to show the transcript or not. This also depends on your assessment. Regardless, you will be able to see the transcript as the teacher, so it will be easier to grade. But this is whether you want it to be visible to students or not. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on to show you what that looks like. And now at the end of the assignment, do you want students to be able to watch their recording? I do want my students to be able to see it, provide them a good sense of how they did. And then if you want them to be able to delete their recording and redo it, we would toggle this last option. We're going to go ahead and click Create Assignment. Be patient, and here's our new assignment link because it's a public assignment. Now, if you did make this a private assignment, notice this copy assignment link. Let's go ahead and change it to a private assignment and save it. We can now see there is no assignment link, but we have to choose which classes we specifically want to assign the assignment to. But let's not do that. Let's go ahead and make our assignment public again. Copy that link and show you what this will look like from the student perspective completing the assignment. There we go. Students log in. They're asked to give a first name and last name, email address if they are required to log in. Students are asked to verify functionality at the beginning of the assignment. It's important that they do this to make sure the assignment will work on their device. I know it's going to work on mine. Let's go ahead and move to our next steps. You can see there are 2 questions. Students start by clicking question 1.
Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Notice we can see the transcript up at the top. Students are going to see their recording start right here. And we have 10 seconds. That's what we set the limit at. I forgot what the question was. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. ¿Y tú? ¿Cómo estás? Notice after the recording is done now, students are allowed to preview because of that setting we chose. And then if they want to watch the video,
You're going to see their recording start right.
And if they want to choose to redo that, they can do that here. I'm going to go ahead and start our second question.
Muy bien. ¿Y cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas tú?
Me llamo Chris. ¿Y tú? ¿Cómo te llamas tú? Notice we can kind of get a feel that that might be too long of a response time for such a short question. When students are done and are happy with both of their responses, they can go ahead and submit the assignment. And they are done. If they have an account, they'll be able to go back to their account, or they can simply download their confirmation just to show you that they did it if that's what you're requiring. Now back in our teacher account, let's go ahead and take a look at that student response. We can see under our assignments, we have our assignment, the basic introduction. We now see that student response. At quick glance, you can see the student name, email, date it was completed, the feedback, whether you've provided it or not, how long the student took on the assignment, And then if this was not a public assignment, if it was assigned to a class, you'd see what class it was completed for. Let's go ahead and open that as response up to provide some feedback. On the left-hand side, we see similar metrics to what we just saw, and now on the right-hand side is where students actually responded. For question 1, we can read that transcript right here. We can see how many attempts the student took to respond. If you enable students to re-watch and re-record, you will most likely see this number going up from 1. And then finally, you can play their response,
You're going to see their recording.
listen to it, and then provide individual feedback at the end. Remember, for this assignment, we did set up to provide individual feedback, both text and rubric feedback for each question that students answered. If you wanted to change this, that it was just one rubric or one text comment for the entire response, you would go ahead and edit the feedback settings from before. So let's go ahead and give rubric feedback for this first assignment. Comprehensibility, I think we did pretty good, and vocabulary did a very nice job. And save that feedback. We'll add a comment, nice response. Go ahead and you can go ahead and listen,
Me llamo.
and then provide individual feedback for those parts. This is a brief glance at how to create a simulated conversation assignment for students. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to chris@charlala.com. Nos vemos pronto. Ciao.